Yeah, going to definitely be a great final to the season. You know, we're getting toward that World Championships, towards everybody. You know, they've already had a long season, but you know they want to tie their best form to this moment, because a world title is what a lot of these riders have pinned their hopes on. A lot of them skipping their national championships to come down, get the additional week of recovery, and then do a small build back up. Use this race here in Benidorm for some speed work, you know, some high intensity efforts with a lot of speed. But here you go, Jez, the overall standings so far.
There we go. They are the standings so far. Michael van Turenhout, the world #1 and the World Cup leader. He leads on 210 points back to Toon Arts. I mean, what a comeback Toon Arts has had. And he got, notably, his first win since his suspension and time out of the sport, which was a long time. Nearly, a year and 3/4, nearly 2 years effectively out for Toon Arts. And he got his first win back on Monday in Overijse on Monday, 1 day after coming third in those Belgian championships to, spoiler alert, Thibaut Nys, the European champion. I'm assuming the European Champions jersey takes priority over the national Champions jersey. That would be right. I presume. Here is Van Turenhout, World Cup leader.
On for the World Cup. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it will be a hard battle, I think. It's 24 points is a lot, but is not a lot. So yeah, if you can fight for the podium, the points are a little higher than you have not on the podium. So yeah, we will see today. I fight for every point, so we will see next week, the Sunday, how the GC is.
Toon Aert, 3 rounds to go in the World Cup, and the battle is still on for the GC.
Yes, indeed, the gap is big. There is a gap between me and Michael van Turenhout, but it's not that it's not possible to win anymore. Of course, if Michael has 3 good races, it will be very difficult, but it can change on a sudden moment with a good result of me and some maybe bad luck or something for Michael. So I'm still ambitious to fight for the overall victory in the World Cup.
Thibaut Nys, enjoying the Spanish sun for sure. What do you think about today's track?
It's super fast. I think even faster than the last 2 years, which will not make it easy to race. It's going to be quite tactical, I think, and maybe it's also good to have someone like Wout to open it up completely.
Wout van Aert, again on the cyclocross bike, is it an adaptation?
Yeah, it's always nice to be back, but if you spend 2 weeks on the road bike, you need some pedal strokes to get used to it. But yeah, happy to be here.
And ready for your final cyclocross races of this season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely looking forward to still do Benidorm and Maasmechelen. It's been a really short winter due to the circumstances, but I enjoyed myself, and yeah, I'm really motivated for the races that are still coming.
What do you think about the track for a World Championship? Because that's something else.
It's fast track, but I think it's safe track. No need a lot of change for worlds, and I think always we have a race with group, excited races, and I think it's good and it's perfect for me and for all fans.
You must be ready for a final part of the season, of course.
Yeah, one continuing same line. This year was amazing for me. Good places in all big races, and today I try again.
Well, it has indeed been a fantastic year for Felipe Orts. Really in a big purple patch this season. Silver medalist at the Europeans when we were last racing at this level on Spanish terrain in Pontevedra at the end of last calendar year. He will want to go, rightly, one better here today, but he's got a big man to knock off the top perch, and it's the winner from last year, Wout van Aert. There he is in the colours of Visma Lease bike. They're largely unchanged colours, the road team, for the year coming. And they're waiting for their gridding. And Jeremy Powers and I will talk you through these riders as they come to the line. You can see the countdown clock coming too. That isn't the countdown clock, of course, that is the time of day. I've seen clocks before. I'd recognise that kind of thing anywhere. Anyway. This is Michael van Turenhout in the white shorts. Whoa, he's brave, J. Pow. He's gone for the white shorts in Spain. Why not? That's a classy look.
Yeah, if you can do it, you got to do it. I mean, this is the forever debate. You know, do you go black shorts or white shorts? I never had white shorts, but what can you say? It's the personal preference, but we see it every once in a while. Vanderpool, as world champion, come out in white shorts. As Dutch champion, would come out with white shorts. We've seen Thibaut Nys rock some white shorts in the cross. So, these are the questions. When you wake up as a professional cyclocrosser, these are the questions that you have to ask yourself.
No, the question you have to ask yourself is, will they turn see-through when they get wet? That's the most important question, isn't it? Oh, dear. Anyway, this is Joran Weschura, former under-23 world champion. What a great breakthrough season he's had into the elites this year. He'll find himself on the front row too. Winner of Telenet Super Prestige round this year as well, but very, very consistent Weschura as well this season. He was third, of course, in Dendermonde, behind Wout van Aert, had a brilliant race there in the mud. And actually, this should be a day that suits him if he can start to lay down his power, as we know he can. Pim Ronhaar next to the front row as well, the Baloise Glowy Lions rider in that new kit, just getting used to that actually, the green and blue. Elisabeth, former multiple Belgian champion, finds his way to the line. Elisabeth, who was 7th in those Belgian championships at Hoogden-Zolder last weekend. He's been 3rd and 4th in the 1st and 2nd edition of this race here in Benidorm. And this is Niels van der Putte, who for the first half of this season was incredibly consistent and highly placing. Drifted a little bit in recent weeks, van der Putte, but possibly not quite as technically demanding as he might like today. Let's see. Felipe Orts is going to be a massive favourite all the way around this. Last time he raced at this level on Spanish soil, as I say, was in the European Championships, where he took a very fine silver medal to Thibaut Nys. The last rider to be called to the line is, by the looks of it, Lars van der Haar, in the colours of the Baloise Glowy Lions. On the blue bike, starting on the blue bike. They always, I know I've had this conversation a few times, J. Powell, but I think they always start on the blue bike, is that right? And then the first pit change would put them on that that greeny bike. What colour did we say that was? Like minty green, isn't it? Lime green. Yeah, something like that.
There's a bit of spearmint in their kit now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what everything, but yeah, I feel like the riders get to pick what they want a little bit. Like they feel better on one bike or another. I know that's how it was for us. Sometimes you number the bikes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down in Spain, they might have a training bike that they put in the mix also, but we will see there. Curtis White from the U.S. They're back in the back corner. This is Wout van Aert here, just tucked in maybe that 2nd or 3rd row now.
Yes, as is always the case at the moment. Wout van Aert, not riding a full cross season, will need to work his way through a little bit. I think he's on the 2nd row by the looks of it. So is Thibaut Nys. There's the answer to the question. In the European Champion skin suit behind, Michael van Turenhout rocking the full white at the front. World #1 World Cup leader Van Turenhout. And I tell you what, he gave Wout van Aert a real battle here last year. I think surprising some people, reminding people that Michael van Turenhout is not just a pure crosser, he can do the fast stuff too, and he was very good on this course last year. In the background there, Cam Mason in that new British Champions jersey, doubling up on that one. Joran Weschura in the foreground in our shot here. Pim Ronhaar of the Baloise Glowy Lions. He was the silver medalist in those Dutch championships to young Thibaut Del Grosso, who was racing today in the under-23 race. I won't tell you how he did, because some of you might want to catch that result. We didn't bring you coverage of it, but there's Jens Adams in that lovely Lotto Exopes jersey in the background, drawing my attention away from the newly crowned, returning Spanish national champion, Felipe Orts. He will have put enough pressure on himself. He won't need it from the crowd here today, but they will be loving seeing the hero of Spanish cyclocross right on the front row. There's Wout van Aert, ready. Winner, dominant winner in Dendermonde, despite his late wipeout in the mud. And he's had a block of road training with Visma bike. Here he is saying he just needed a few pedal strokes, something like that, wasn't it? He said in the interview, to get back into cross mode. Yes, we'll move that sign, thank you, that would do nicely. And we're ready for the start. Round 9 of 11, it would have been 10 of 12, but 9 of 11 in the UCI Cyclo-Cross World Cup from Benidorm, locked and loaded. And we're off. Joran Weschura in the middle, up alongside Town Arts, who's gone in the small gear. He's trying to get the good start, looks like at the moment. Niels van der Putte in the double denim right in the middle is going to get the best start by the looks of it. Great start by him. He's got Elias a bit locking up the back wheel and sliding there. Let's get through here cleanly, boys. We don't want a problem at this point. Andrew Strohmeyer, the American champion on the inside, just getting caught up against the barriers. But it's van der Putte who's got the best start. Felipe Orts looking very comfortable there in second. And Eli Iserbyt in third. Thankfully, Jeremy, everyone away by the looks of it fairly cleanly.
Yeah, so far so good. We saw Wout van Aert there shuffled out quite a bit. I mean, practically last as he came through that turn. He'll be able to move up quite a bit. A lot of respect for him in the field. But yeah, we saw riders from the United States. Eric Brunner there was in the back right there, as well as Strohmeyer coming through. But right now on the front, Alpecin de Koenigs, big dog Niels van der Putte here on the front. As you see now, all of the drama here in the back as Brunner there on the backhand side of your left screen. But we've got a lot of riders here that are going to be off their machines, having to get back on, including Wout van Aert.
Yeah, Wout van Aert right in the thick of the traffic right there. He'll need to be careful. We are in the lower part of the Parc de Fouettes down here. This is where we have these tight turns. Lots of crowd down here as well over the bridge. And not too long before they'll be starting the road climb up. If you didn't watch the elite women's race, I'll just explain it to you. There's then a sort of a Deacon-style road climb that takes them up into the forested section at the northern part of the Parc de Fouettes. And that's where we start the sort of swoopy descent. Back down over the barriers as well, and then back into these tight twists and turns down here. There is a sand pit that we're not too far away from getting into, but as we noted in the elite women's race, it didn't have too much impact on the race. We'll watch it today. We'll also look to see how many of these men try to jump the barriers as well. I don't think we saw any of the elite women jumping the barriers. That's not really a spoiler, that's just a technical element. Did you see any, Jeremy? I don't think so.
I didn't. Not a single one, but Felipe Orts, man, the fans are going to be screaming for Orts, who calls this is about as much of a home race as he's going to get, especially given such a great season right now. A lot of these fans will be out here to see Felipe Orts. Another rider that we didn't talk about right away, Thibaut Nys. Very, very similar track, in a lot of ways to the races that he won the European Championships at. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Problems.
Chain sucked by the looks of Cam Mason. He's trying to get that chain out. He's going to have to run it. Can't get it out from under the knee. Is he running a double chain ring at the front there, J-Pow?
I'm not
sure. But yeah, it seems to be stuck. He gave it two good old pulls and is now running as well. I've just lost my pictures for a moment. There we are. We're back to them. Sorry for that, folks. At home, I think you got the same thing, but definitely a problem for Cameron Mason. And that'll be a bit of a shame for a family that I know have made the journey all the way from Fife. The Durkin family, who sent me a message this morning saying they travelled all the way from the Fife in Scotland to Benidorm this weekend to support Cam Mason. They're just before the barriers, apparently, so I hope they have a nice weekend. I don't normally do shout-outs, but I thought that was very impressive, making the journey over just for the weekend from Scotland. Hopefully Cam Mason will get that sorted and get back on. It is still Niels van der Putte who's leading. And there goes Michael van Turenhout, knowing the gap between him and Toon Aerts is 24 points. And Toon Aerts there, actually just ahead of him in that line. There is Aerts in the bare arms, the former Belgian champion striped on his sleeve. It's now Eli Iserbyt, who, by the looks of it, isn't suffering from those problems with his back in the early stages of this race. We've seen that as a common theme over the Christmas period, haven't we, J-Pow? And he's talked about it. Here we get this fantastic drone shot looking up the hill. There is Wout van Aert moving up the group as well. He's still in the second group, just behind Lawrence Swake there, another of those riders that we expect would probably quite like these conditions today. I thought it might be a good day for Swake. What do you reckon, J-Pow?
Yeah, could be. I mean, we'll see. Everybody's come down to Spain to be able to put in some long miles and to be able to get the efficiency back up. That's the area where Wout van Aert is going to be able to make some moves to go to the front. We see Iserbyt, as you noted in the pre-race, very, very good on this track historically. A lot of riders here are going to see the front, and there's going to be a lot of changes. If the women's race was anything to go by, we are going to see multiple lead changes. Different riders are going to take up the pacemaking throughout this race, and there's going to be a lot of dive bombing of turns. But it will be the riders that have the most panache, the most experience, that are going to ultimately come to the front with authority and be able to hold back the finishers. But this race is definitely going to be a group race. There's definitely speed limits on this course, and there's more horsepower than there is track. So let's see what comes out of this. Right now, the Spanish champion, Felipe Orts, on the front, and the fans love it.
Oh, they absolutely do. Not only by staying up there is he getting the full adulation of the crowd, but he's staying out of trouble in a group this big as well. Bearing in mind, you've mentioned it, J-Pow, this race is dive bomb city. If you were ever good at dive bombing and looking to use it in your cyclocross races, this is the place to do it. We saw it in the women's race. We saw it in last year's races too. And I'm pretty certain we'll see some rear-wheel locking up action, sliding up the inside of a gap that doesn't exist today, which is what we mean by dive bombing. I should just be clear about that. If you are new to cyclocross, that's what I'm talking about. It's basically taking completely the wrong line into the corner to go up the inside of other riders in the hope that they then sense you're there, and then they're pushed wide, because no one wants to crash, and you seem to have found your way up the inside of them. Sometimes using your own elbow to use that, to effect that gap, shall we say, up the inside. It's a classic criterium riders thing to do. It's possibly slightly less dangerous in cyclocross, I guess. Jeremy, with the slightly lower speeds into the corner, maybe?
Definitely less dangerous than a 50 mile per hour or 80 kilometer an hour descent at a tour stage, for sure, with not a lot of barricades, but you can also get hurt in cyclocross. We've seen a lot of riders leave, unfortunately, injured, and having to just Anna Marie Verst just broke her wrist on the women's side during the Zonhoven race. So you're not free from any injuries, but there is definitely the idea of a very fast and very long hard crash, a little bit lower in cyclocross, but everything on two wheels at this level has its risks. Let's see now, can they jump the planks? Yes, they can. Michael Van Tornhout over clean. Felipe Arts just behind him, so lots of riders choosing. Niels Van de Putte even making a switch up there. We saw Thibaut Nys deciding to run the planks, which was surprising given his technical prowess. This is where Wout van Aert famously lost his seat as he came through some years ago in this race, but he comes through here having moved up quite a bit with a fan very overzealous over there, just punching the sky a little bit for Wout van Aert.
Yeah. If you're going to go and watch a cross race, folks, don't do that, will you? I mean, we all get excited when we see the big names, but I'm sure most of you watching wouldn't do that. We've just seen it for ourselves. Doesn't help. But there we go. There he is in his white shorts, Michael Van Tornhout, second last year to Wout van Aert, and gave Wout van Aert a right run for his money last year. It wasn't a runaway victory like we saw in Dendermonde for Wout van Aert last year. No, none of it. Michael Van Tornhout was right on it and actually really threatening Wout van Aert throughout last year's race. So, despite the fact that he's known as a pure crosser and a great technical rider, particularly in the mud as well, last year reminding people actually what a good all-round rider he is, even on the fast courses like this too. A few new champions in there. We're just watching Clément Venturini riding through as well, the French champion, getting that title back again in the tricolor colours right there. I'll do my best to pick out a few of the newly crowned champions. There's Orts right up at the front. Kevin Kuhn not too far back in his Swiss champions jersey again. He's another of those riders who's seemingly always in it. If you wonder, folks, maybe who don't follow the full cyclocross season, why I'm giving you these results, we only covered, I think, last weekend, the French champs here at the home cycling, but it was European National Championships weekend last weekend, which is why I'm giving you that context. There goes Michael Boros in his kit going through, the Czech champion once again, just to the left-hand side of the screen, very smart-looking jersey. There's Clément Venturini there as well in the French champion's skin suit. We've already seen Thibaut Nys in the European Champions jersey. Let's not forget, it'd be quite nice. It'd be quite nice. I don't know, Jeremy, it might be quite nice if maybe he had the Belgian champion stripes on the sleeve. You can't do everything, but it's a shame for him to be Belgian champion and not get any opportunity. I wonder if he's got any marks on his bikes that indicate that he's the Belgian national champion. It's a bit of a shame, isn't it?
Well, I think we're a little bit early. We've seen some very cool combinations of different kits from the Belgians that have won multiple jerseys in 1 year. Wellens, when he was Belgian and world champion, with the Belgian shorts with the world champ flag. I'm not sure if that flies today, given the standards, but if one rider could pull it off, it'd definitely be Thibaut Nys. I expect there will be a combination. I saw something on his Instagram where he had the Belgian jersey on with the European champ shorts. Maybe just testing the waters to see if the UCI would send a friendly DM to let him know that wasn't possible. But let's see. I think there's some room for something here for Thibaut Nys. I would be surprised if we don't see a different iteration of this. But right now, at the front, you see a lot of white, and it's Michael Van Tornhout, Eli Isterbit, both from the Powell Sauces program here up at the front, but also coming through. I have to say, there's a lot of riders here in this front group, including Wout van Aert, who's making his way up through the pack, not unexpectedly.
Yep, Wout van Aert there up alongside Loris Rouillet, the Swiss rider who was second to Kevin Kuhn in those Swiss championships last weekend. Very talented, great technical rider, Rouillet, really powerful, punchy rider too. Riding in the green of Heisermat. Here is our sandpit, which we won't possibly see too much action in unless someone deviates from that line. I'd love to see someone do an attack down the outside right through the thick of the sand, Jeremy. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it.
You know,
Anyway.
never count it out. We've got some big engines in this race.
Yes.
We've got some big engines, and they can do it if they want to. But I wouldn't think it would be the best use of their energy. There's plenty of racing to go on this one.
There we go. That's why I'm not in the pit shouting instructions at them. Ellie is a bit, and I think Michael Van Turen out there looking to do their Pal Sousen Sibel Clementine's trick of slowing everything down at the front, trying to control the race. Felipe Orts knows this trick of old and has got in between the two of them, but is a bit starting strongly, looking to use the climb as well on the front. Michael Van Turen out looking good, but they're trying, I presume, Jeremy, to stay away from this guy, the Killer Bee, who is slowly winding his way up. Well, I say that. He's chasing Boros and others. He is getting there, using the road climb to the best of his advantage. He might just be out doing some Spanish road training right now. It's just he's going to turn off said road in a minute and head back into the crossy bit.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I think Van Aert, knows he's got a bit of a different race, but if the women's race was anything to go by, there is enough time. You have to have patience, and he can see the front of the race right now. So I don't think, for a rider with his pedigree, he's panicking by any stretch. I think he's realizes this type of race, it's going to be a late race no matter what. This race is going to come down to a final lap or two. There's just, like I said before, there's just too much horsepower in the elite men's field on such a fast track that's, got some speed limits on it, where the riders can only go so fast, no matter how strong they are. That's what Wout van Aert needs to lean into today. And you can see as he kind of comes around the turn there, blurry in the back of your screen, he's probably sitting in about 15th, 20th spot right now. That's not a fear for Wout van Aert. Other riders would be like, I need to get up there. But for Van Aert, he knows what he brings to the table.
Thibaut Nace there, coming through shot right now in that European Champions jersey, was on the podium with Wout van Aert in this race last year. It was Wout van Aert, Michael Van Turen, and then Thibaut Nace a little bit more distant to those two. He seems to have moved on another level again this year, as you'd expect. He's actually looking round there as he went around that corner, maybe to check on the whereabouts of Wout van Aert and others. We saw a big group in the elite women's race after 3 laps of some 10 to 12 riders as well. We could see something very similar here, maybe even bigger too. Niels van der Putte there following Lars van der Haar, who's had a good start, and Orts still there, the Spanish champion, right up at the front and looking like he wants to lead. He's actually going a little bit clear here with Elias a bit, and these two are laying it on this lap 2 of we don't know how many laps just now. Lars van der Haar wise to it and coming over the top to try and close that gap down.
You can hear the fans for Orts, man. They are out. When that front group comes through and he's in it, they are not playing games. They are showing that adoration for the Spanish champion in full effect. Guarantee everybody in that fan zone know the name Felipe Orts. He's definitely done a lot to grow this area, this region of cross. This race, very, very close to his home. He's done a lot of work in the run-up to this to be able to promote this. They've also put in a bid for the World Championships, which if you were with us at the start of this, they were asking him, what would it mean for World Championships? Orts was saying, this is enough. There's enough course here. There's a couple small modifications, but it's a safe course. It's a fast course. It's an exciting course. It's a World Championship level course. So doing that work to be able to try to, bring the World Championships to this region of Spain, man, it would do a lot. We saw Miguel Indurain on the podium for the women's race. The Spanish Federation has not played games today, is what I'm telling you with regards to the politics. They brought out every stop. They definitely want to make a bid for the World Championships. And with the fans that you see out here today, the packed fields, 4 or 5 fans deep in subsections, it's great to see.
Maritza Miersen there just nearly coming a cropper jumping. That unclipped a foot, managed to go sideways and kept it upright as well. That was good to see. No, I think it'll be a really worthy World Championships course this as well. At the end, it just fits so well at this time of the season as well. If we had this race, say, even though it's not that long ago, if we had it in the Christmas period, the travelling wouldn't be right. It wouldn't seem right. It would be very much out of place. But where this is right now, it just fits perfectly in the calendar as well. I can see this continuing to grow. I'm not paid to say that. I just think it. That's the way it is. So this is the conclusion of lap 2. We'll now find out, or should find out, how many laps they're going to be doing in total. My guess it will be something like about 9, because the elite women did 6. There you go, 6 laps to go, so that means 8 laps in total. I wasn't far off. And the gaps, again, just gradually being closed up. You can see the names scrolling through. You'll see them scrolling through at the bottom of the screen as well, particularly folks at home, if you're looking for riders that you're following, keep watching that band at the bottom of the screen as it rolls through. So these elite men doing 2 laps more than the elite women, which means they'll be racing for about an hour. Michael van Turenhout doing a gentle dive bomb up the inside of Felipe Orts. Orts leaving himself enough room there. There is enough room to squeeze through very gradually, but for those who want to do it, the opportunity. Then we see there Pim Ronhaar getting sort of caught up the inside, reverse dive bombing, having to back off on the inside of the corner, having been stuck there. So it can work both ways, I guess, that inside line, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think so. Both these. I'd say the thing about this course is you kind of know that there's going to be some switch ups. So like for Orts, he knows that Michael van Torenhout wants to be in the front. Michael van Torenhout also knows that he kind of come through, but he might have come from 7th, to 2nd, and then now Orts is like, no, I want to be up in the front. So he passes him back, but he still gains a couple of spots. So it's going to be like that. There's going to be a lot of kind of shuffling. It's going to be more like a criterium in that way. A lot of washing machine. It's just like, just turning and burning. Come through. You're on the outside, you're on the inside. Now you're on the inside, now you're on the outside. Going to be very, very common. So the riders aren't going to get flustered by this. They know there's going to be a lot of changes. They know there's going to be a lot of basically easing off to prevent a crash or to preventing any dramas. And that's what everybody's trying to do here. They're all professionals, but they want to come through here and they want to continue to keep themselves up in the front. And that jockeying for position is part of the tactics of this race that you need to know and be comfortable with in order to be able to win.
Jeremy, what do you reckon? Would the duo of Iserbyt and Van Turenhout be doing this so hard if Wout van Aert was up there around them? I can't help but think this is influenced by trying to keep Wout van Aert at bay a little bit. Or am I kind of looking at this with yellow-tinted glasses a bit too much?
I'm not sure if your glasses are tinted yellow or not, because I'm not looking at you, actually, at the moment, thanks to modern technology.
Yeah.
However, I do think that there is a sense of urgency given the situation, but they also know Wout van Aert. They saw what he did in Dendermonde. They know the power that he brings. And this big, long road climb is sort of the haymaker for a rider like Van Aert. They know that they can't keep the beast contained back there. He's out of the cage and he can do what he wants. And I would expect on this lap we see him shoot himself right up to the front with the power output that he can do.
For those of you who maybe haven't followed the whole of the Cyclo-Cross season, some of you might be tuning in just at the beginning of this year and have missed when he started. Started his season, of course, in Leurnout, where I think he was either 4th or 5th. He had a little crash with Thibaut Nace and managed to come up the inside of him, crashed into a bit of a barrier. I think he ran over a spectator's foot or something like that. But he then started to bounce back in the coming races after that. Eventually took the win in Hullegem just after New Year, at the beginning of the season, where he beat Eddie Iserbyt and Michael van Turenhout on that occasion. Then again took the win in Dendermonde. Here he goes up the inside there as well. This fantastic drone shot. He's tracking alongside Pim Ronhaar and Kevin Kuhn by the looks of it. And he's trying to get back in touch with the group being led by Elie Iserbyt. There he is. He's hooked on Wout van Aert. And we will, understandably, keep an eye on him as the most recent winner. The big question probably won't come at the end of this cross season about how his year has gone, Jeremy. It's more likely to come at the end of the classics, because we know that's what he's building up to. And if ever there was a rider, I think we said this last time we were on together, if ever there was a rider who's due a big win and a big classic, like Paris-Roubaix, it would be Wout van Aert. And I'm sure all the cross fans will think that too, just dependent on how hardcore you are into one side of the sport or the other. It's certainly been a good start to him this year, and he's certainly due it. After a season last year where he crashed out at the beginning of the year in, Dwars-door-Vlaanderen, big crash that took him out for a long time, came back and was looking so good in the Vuelta before then crashing on stage 16, then came back to Cyclo-Cross and has been great again now as we see him at the moment. Certainly due more of a trouble-free, consistent season this year, cross and road.
Yeah, absolutely. That crash in the Vuelta, his knee does not look good. It's just got a lot of scarring on it. It was a very, very hard crash. There's no question that he couldn't finish the Vuelta, but he was really having such a great race there. But crashes are part of the game. But he's been unlucky in that way. He's had the crash during the Tour where he ripped his, I believe, part of his quadricep, and then now he's also had this crash during the Vuelta where he's really smashed up his knee and needed to. That was it. The season was well over at that point. But what is great, those are the setbacks. But what's great is that he's back on form and he's here in the cross competing at the front, and that does set him well up. You need momentum as a rider. You need to show these milestones. It's January 19th today. He's got some goals, about 3 months off, 90 days or so. this is a great moment to be putting down the foundation for him, to be putting in some hard efforts, to use cyclocross to gain that momentum, to go into another good training block and to continue to grow his level. So, yeah, Van Aert, I think, is, by my very, outsider, I think he's on track for a good year. He's just coming back to full form at 30 after a big injury. It's like, hey, that's a big feather in your cap already, because that crash looked really bad at the Vuelta, and it can take time to come back from those things.
Talking of 30, before I forget to say it, happy birthday to Mathieu van der Poel as well today. 30 years of age today, if I'm not mistaken, as well, for the current world champion as well. Anyway, let's focus on this. Felipe Orts unclipping there as he landed, banged his ankle as well, I think, which is one of those really painful. I've done that a few times, J. Powell. You must have done it 1,000 times. You know that feeling when you unclip and bang the inside of your ankle on your pedal? Oh. Anyway, Michael Van Turen out leading. Felipe Orts still in second and looking so good with the crowd baying on for him. Elliot's a bit with his cranks level cornering again. One forward, one back, snowboarder style as he goes through the corners. There he is in third. Little gap back to Lars van der Haar, who started really well. The Dutch Balois glowy lion. Who's behind him? Niels van der Putte and Thibaut Nys. Orts having a look round to see what's going on. I think Michael Van Turenhout trying to encourage Orts to get on with it. And that's quite a clever little move, really, to sort of G up Orts. It's on your home turf, mate. Let's see what you got. Come on, up you go. Push him on a little bit. See if you can get him to add a bit. There is Wout van Aert, just with Pim Ronhaar behind him. It's Teun Aerts, who's just slightly distanced from that group. The next group being led by Jens Adams. And there's Lauren Swake, who we've not mentioned too much so far. I thought I'd see him further up. By this stage, maybe, Jeremy?
Yeah, perhaps, but it's that big climb, and Swake is a rider at this point in his career that's really, I think, on the right day, super dangerous, and you know it almost immediately when he comes out. Very sandy tracks. He's really shown himself to be absolutely phenomenal. He's one of the best sand crossers of this generation. He's continued to show that, through the results that he's gotten on tracks like this. This one is fast. It's flat, but there is that big, 30, 40-second climb there that's really going to shuffle him out. So, yeah, hard to say. We will see. This is definitely not over, but, at this point, 21, 22 minutes in, there'd be a lot of work for Swake to come back up to the front, I think.
So back over that smooth, fake grass bridge, and back down onto the dry sand as well. There has been rain in the run-up to this race. Jeremy and I were both sent pictures of rainfall just down the coast from here on the Costa Blanca, but it hasn't affected the course at all. There goes Venturini going through in his French champions kit. I'm just going to have a look down the timing to see whether Cameron Mason is persisting. Yes, he is. Currently down in 35th place. The British champion, we saw him with that chain suck early on. He still appears to be in the race, but losing quite a lot of time there as well. I'm trying to work out whether I can call this a leading group. I think it is. Back to around about 12th place, where we've got Jens Adams, who's attached himself. There's Venturini, there's Teun Aerts, and I think Jens Adams is the next rider, and I think we can say there is enough of a gap there to call it a leading group of 12 riders. But there is a fair bit of looking around there, and a problem for Felipe Orts for the first time on the inside. So often he's the rider who's going up that inside as well, and he might have just touched the what do you call it, the stake at the edge there, maybe. Jeremy.
Yeah, but that it's a very tricky corner there because it actually slopes in. You can see there, if we get the replay, the barricade. It's not a perfect 90-degree turn. It's like a 90 with like a 75 after it. It's kind of tricky. So it's easy to kind of think, if you haven't ridden it that close to the inside, that it continues to stay as a 90, but it actually protrudes a little bit more than you would expect, and there is where it lies the problem for someone like Orts through that section. But it was very clean. Foot down, just grab the front. Nobody else went down. Orts just ran his front tire into the cloth barricade banner there, and he's back onto the races. So no harm, no foul, really. Thank you. Small foul, but no harm, which is good.
Yeah, and actually this group is swelling as well from behind as we look at it. Joran Westura just rejoining along with Ryan Kamp, Corny van Kessel also there. Big numbers still in contact. There's in the background, I'm seeing Teun Aerts chasing after Kevin Kuhn in that all red Swiss champions skin suit. Slightly different design to the one he's had in recent years, which had a little bit more white on it, I think, if I'm not mistaken. In the foreground, it is still that team of Paulshausen, Sibel Clementines, whether it's Michael van Turnhout or Ellie Isabit, constantly taking it in turns to lay on the pressure at the front. Temo Bronchoini looking over his shoulder to see if they are a leading group, but they've got company back there, that's for sure.
Venturini still putting together a super solid cross season every single year. It's great to see. It looks super good on the bike. Man, what a great rider. You know, one of the ones we don't talk about that comes over from the road, having both success on both sides. But, yeah, just such a good crosser. But now we see Thibaut Nace, as I noted, very similar course to the European Championships as he won on just some months ago. Now he's back here at the front pushing the pace. Wout van Aert trying to get on right, just trying to shoot across that gap. Thibaut looks back, realizes the damage that he's doing, but continues to put his head down. This is a very good course for the Belgian champ as well as European champ. He can definitely do some damage here. He knows he's got Lars van der Haar. He sees the look on Wout van Aert's face, and he knows that this is a moment here, 20, 25 minutes, that he can do some damage, and he wants to capitalize from it.
Watch out for Emil Verstringa, who's sitting there. He is in shot right now, the tall Belgian rider, just on the back wheel of Felipe Orts. We've not mentioned him at all so far, Verstringa. He was, where was he in the Belgian champs? Was he second, I think? No, sorry, he was fifth in those Belgian champs a week ago. But he was second to Wout van Aert in Dendermonde as well, let's not forget. So he flies in the mud. Verstringa being talked up as something of an up-and-coming climber on the road as well. There he is, where he's going to be riding for Alpecin de Koning, I think, on the road this season, despite the fact that he rides for Quellen Correndon here. But Verstringa in very, very good form. And he's on the back wheel of Felipe Orts there, with that gap back to Wout van Aert, who is, of course, closing it up gradually. But there is some hard riding being done at the front by the European and Belgian champion, Thibaut Nace.
Let's get a little bit of a replay here.
Whoa! Wow!
Man, absolutely flying there. Kind of looks back like, whoo! Everything's okay. Everything's okay. No problems there. You know, we did hear some pre-race, Jez, that there are some rocks out there, some kind of sharp ones. But man, the thing is, that's what I was talking about with the speed limits, Jez. Like when you don't, when you defy gravity, you go over the speed limit. You might go off the road, and I think in the case of Thibaut, in that one, that was one of those scenarios where it's like, you're going a little too hot for that part of the track.
Yeah, possibly another reason not to wear white shorts. If anyone got a still photo, that would have been a crack. It looked like he was styling it up, like he was getting some big air, Johnny T style with his foot out to one side. But I don't think it was deliberate at all. That was a brilliant save. Here we are on the barriers. Keeping it tidy there, Nace, almost perfect, really. And you see Lars van der Haar running them, of course. So is Pim Ronhaar.
Now watch Nace here come through.
Wow!
This is what I'm talking about, man. The guys are not obeying the yellow suggested speed limits. They're driving their Porsches and their Ferraris and their Lamborghinis way faster. Look at Nace slicing this one up, though. Did you see him? He's just bobbing his head, using his head to drive his body weight through as he comes through, shifting that weight way back. Technically, he's showing everybody what he's capable of right now, and that is putting everybody on notice.
They are absolutely milking and exceeding the grip of their tyres. In fact, they've milked their tyres so much, it's bone dry, there's nothing left. And Isabit and Nace, two of the best cornering riders in this group. That little spray from the water across the track there. Things calmed down a little bit, but my gosh, both of them will have had a nice little hit of adrenaline in there, whether they wanted it or not. That's the conclusion of lap 4, and we have 4 laps to go. We are now exactly at half distance, and still so many riders still in play. That gap, though, notably, can we read anything into that, J-Pow? But the gap keeps opening up to Wout van Aert. There it is again. And every time it's him closing it down. I don't know whether that's deliberate or what. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We've just sent away some of our Eurosport viewers to a commercial break. Jeremy, can I get you to give me your thoughts on that? Because am I right or wrong in spotting that? It does seem to crack open in front of him every time.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, this is just such a fast and dynamic race, you know. It's just so fast, and I think that, you know, any one little thing that you see, it might not be what meets the eye. I mean, so many little things are happening. The riders are studying one another. There's these little moments. Everybody's looking behind them right now. Just like Thibaut kind of kicked the bee's nest open there when he went to the front a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. And he kicked it open and put in his little honeyed spoon and just stirred it up a bit and see what came out. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of bees in here. One of them looks like a bee, but they've all got a sting to them. Lars van der Haar's riding really well on this course too. He rode well here last year, I seem to remember. He wasn't on the podium, but he was right up there and looking very strong on the climb too. Great all-round rider, Lars van der Haar. And it's very little change at the front now, really. Still Clement Venturini, really the last of those riders. We've shaken out a few more, the likes of Jens Adams and others, who might well go on to form that second group behind. But still, Michael van Turenhout and Eli Iserbyt, who have set out to try and dominate this race today. Thibaut Nys sitting right in the middle of them.
Michael van Turenhout hot-stepped those stairs there, Jez. He was doing 2 and 3 at a time. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, everybody else was doing like he just jumped them all with those big long legs, doing what he could to just do some damage there. Jumped right back on the bike, put his head down, and going right for it now. He's now trying to make trying to put pressure on after Iserbyt has really loosened things up at the front there for the Palasos rider, for the World Cup leader. Now Michael van Turenhout realizes at the halfway mark he wants to try to do some damage here as they come through this very hard section of this course. 2 times off the bike and only in the course of a couple of minutes here. It's that first stair section followed by the sand. Now they've got another sand section followed by that 30 to 40 second climb. So will Michael van Turenhout be able to continue to widen this one up?
I should have been pointing out Joris Nieuwenhuis, who is now riding, of course, in the same colours of Felipe Orts, not the Spanish champion, but of Ridley Racing Team. Nieuwenhuis, who was 3rd in those Dutch championships, he is there in this group, in actual fact, near the back. Let's look out for him in those Ridley Racing colours, the green and white. I think he's just about to come into shot there. There he is, Nieuwenhuis. Slightly less bearded than in recent seasons. Let's watch the front end, though, because Thibaut Nys lifting it. Eli is a bit fancying a little bit too. Van Turenhout up alongside him on the climb, and here we have Wout van Aert winding his way through. He's getting past Felipe Orts. Is Orts starting to feel the pressure of what he's been laying on the first few laps? Looks like he's getting dropped off by Wout van Aert right now, who's just hooking back up with the leaders again. Fantastic drone shot once again, but every one of those long climbs starts to take its toll across the full 8 laps, we suspect. We'll wait to see the effect of that. That was a big effort, Jeremy, by Wout van Aert there again, wasn't it? Just to get around the others in that group. And I think closing up again over this. This is kind of a false flat up at the top of the forest here in the Parc des Poètes.
Wow, Thibaut Nys just out of the saddle all through this section, just continuing on. I mean, everybody is at their maximum right now. Verstringen is at the back here. Orts just dropped off on that climb, but trying to make his way back to the front. It's got to sit up here. Van Aert knows it. Everybody else knows it. It has to sit up. Can they late break it, carry a little bit speed, and then just try to get back up to speed as they go through this big turn? Now, Balsals and Bingo, Eli Iserbyt comes back to the front here. The Trek Balawasa Lions, the Glowy program now also is one of their sponsors. Also have 2 riders up there, Lars van der Haar and Pim Brunhart. So this is very, very tactical at this point right now. A lot of riders up here with a lot of horsepower. Thibaut Nys looks to be on an absolute blitz of a day today, seemingly without any lack of energy going anywhere. He's just out of the pedals, standing up, kind of dancing on the pedals as he goes through these sections right now. For me, right now, the rider to beat, Thibaut Nys, personally. He's just looks absolutely phenomenal today.
I agree with you, Jeremy. Wout van Aert looks like he's working a little bit too hard, and he keeps closing the gaps, but that looked a really, really big effort up the climb there again, and doesn't look quite as smooth as Thibaut Nys. However, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but Thibaut Nys has certainly opened himself up some problems this season. When he's been looking really good, he's quite good at making mistakes too, as we all are, but quite notable with Thibaut Nys. He nearly had one, didn't he, on the last lap with that unclipped foot. He hangs it out and he takes, in a way, so many risks because his skill level is so high. So let's hope he keeps it rubber side down, because you're right, he looks ice cool today in that European champion skin suit.
Yeah, he's just not going as hard as the other riders, and his age gives him so much explosivity. It's one of the things that I remember as a young rider and watching other young riders over the years, is that you've always got that kind of the explosivity out of the turns. You can just, hit the throttle and go. And I think in the case of Nys, he's benefited from that in races where there's enough traction. And in other races, he's got a little overzealous, and it's kind of nipped him in the butt. And I think in this case today, he's got enough traction. He needs to keep it together, and he needs to stay patient. But I do think that, watch the speed that he's going over the planks. Honestly, when Michael van Turenhout is in front of him, I actually think it's better for Thibaut, because he's being held back a little bit. He's got to kind of follow, and he's got to sit but he's not been very patient in some of the races. But I think today, on this fast of a course, he's definitely got an opportunity to show his hand at the right moment. And if he waits just a little bit longer, we still got quite a bit of time left in this race. Nace could definitely open something up that the others can't come back from.
So we're back to as we were on lap 1. The World Cup leader Michael Van Turnhout carving through these tight turns at the bottom of the Parc de Fuentes. Nace sat in behind him. There he is a bit. Felipe Orts, the Spanish champion. Pim Ronhaar looking better all the time. Emil Verstringer up there, and there is Wout van Aert, understandably our camera operator, tracking through, panning through, I should say, with him in shot. They're back through the water. Elizabeth has a look across to see how many laps they have to go. Well, that's the completion of the, where are we? The 5th lap. So we have 3 laps to go. This is lap 6 they're going into. I'm just bringing you the names of those who are just tagging onto the back of that group. Joshua Dubois has moved up, the other Frenchman in there, just behind Clément Venturini. He's on, as is Joris Nieuwenhuis as well. Although again, as I say that, they go into these tight turns and the gap starts to crack open again. We effectively have a consistent 10 riders at the front of this race as they're going through shot right now. We then have 5 or 6 more who keep yo-yoing their way back on and off. Those riders are Joshua Dubois, Lawrence Swait, Kevin Kern and Jens Adams. Toon van der Bos is back there too. They keep getting on and then getting dropped and then getting on and getting dropped. There they are. There's the front of them, led by Clément Venturini coming through here. And Nieuwenhuis alongside him too. They keep rejoining this group and then getting dropped a little bit again. Let's see if they can put together something a little bit more consistent over these last 3 laps.
Emil Verstringer now in 3rd place after kind of waiting on that climb. It's a little bit of roulette when they do that, right? Like, is the race going to go away, or if I don't go with this attack over the road section, will it come back together? And in this case, for Verstringer, now he's putting himself up here in the front, right in between Thibaut Nace and Michael Van Turnhout and Iserbit. So now Emil Verstringer kind of on a breakout season by all stretches. He's had a ton of personal bests this year in the World Cup at the elite ranks. Now putting himself in 2nd place here. So could Verstringer have played this almost perfectly as they come into the hardest part of the course?
Yeah, Verstringer's been really good this season and showing quite happy to use his elbows to move up through the group as well. He sits now 2nd wheel, the tall rider in the green and white of Kellen Correndon, the young Belgian, former European champion as well on the white and black Steven Spike, a name that we've seen so often in cross throughout the history of cross. And there is Joshua Dubois, who has made it back on as well. Very consistent rider in the Coupe de France. Very regular winner in those French Cup races for Cyclo-Cross too. It's Verstringer now who's laying it on at the front as well. This is really good to see. And amongst all those big elite names, one of the best youngsters coming through. Quite happy to lay it on into the sand.
Watch the climb. We saw him in Namur, very, very strong. You know, did a really good job in that very hilly race. But you see a lot of changes, as we noted there would be. But now Verstringer out of the saddle, putting down the power, dancing on the pedals as he comes through. Watch him as he hits these sets of stairs. He's going to jump right back on his machine. Is he going to pause, or is he going to continue to put down the pressure on the pedals and try to extend a lead here on this climb?
The young clips, they swing off to the inside, most of them, apart from Thibaut Nace, who's on the outside of the bike there. Up the steps, followed by Wout van Aert. And there goes Nieuwenhuis, looking better and better lap by lap. The Dutchman in the green and white, there he is in the back of the shot. Of course, he was a podium finisher at last year's World Championships, wasn't he, behind Mathieu van der Poel. He was 2nd, I forget that. He was a silver medalist, wasn't he, in Tabor end of last year. Not quite in that form just yet, but we know what he's capable of. And here's that fantastic shot from the drone again, following these riders back up the climb. And it's Michael Van Turnhout again. I wonder what he's going to get out of this. I wonder where he'll finish at the end of this, because he and Elisabeth have been shoveling on the coals onto this fire throughout this race. They're not working for anyone else. It's between those two. But I wonder how this is going to go for those lads, and whether Jürgen Mette-Penningen, their team owner, is going to be happy as he watches on. I presume he's there. I've not seen him in any shots just yet, but they've done an awful lot, those two.
Well, you saw Lars van der Haar close that gap up. Iserbit was struggling to stand Van Turnhout's wheel, or was opening a little bit of a gap to see if anybody was going to close it. Makes van der Haar kind of come over the top and sew it up. but that's the move that you can do when you're riding 1-2 as two teammates. And Van der Haar realizes this moment and says, no, I'm jumping to the front. I'm not going to let that happen. Iserbyt's, both of them are on a good day, but it's through these tight, twisty, one single rider at a time sections that the teammates can really do something. But as we see there, I believe that's Joshua Dubois, their number 42 at the back of this group. Very strong ride for the French rider, as well as Clement Venturini is also back there just in front of him. So really good rides. Anyone in this top 11 riders, Jez, could easily take the win here, and we wouldn't be surprised. Everybody's got the pedigree to do it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Lars van der Haar looking really good today, actually. Best I've seen him looking, really, if we go back over the whole Christmas period, going right the way back to that win he took in the Koppenberg Cross. That was his last victory, if I'm not mistaken, as well, Lars van der Haar. He looks really good today, enjoying these conditions too. We do talk sometimes, Jeremy, don't we, about these one particular, a couple of riders love it when it's cold and wet and all that kind of. Here we go, he's going again, Lars van der Haar. I'll come back to that because he's taking Elisabeth with him. This is a really big move by Lars van der Haar. I thought he looked good and had something in reserve, and he's definitely stretching them up this climb into the top of the wood.
Yeah, Van der Haar knows this moment. He saw there was a little bit of kind of movement there in the front group, and Iserbyt's going to be the rider that goes with him. Verstringen is the one that's going to do up the pacemaking in the back. But right now, there's a lot of riders that are looking and paying attention. What's going on here? Right, Michael van Toornhout was on the front. Let that one roll, almost in like a criterium-style attack. There's not a lot of bandwidth here. There's not a big gap. But on a course like this, Jez, it doesn't take much.
Well, Verstringen, let's not forget, is the only one that doesn't have a teammate of that leading three up the road, because Michael van Toornhout has Elisabeth, and let's not forget, despite the fact he's in the European Champions jersey, they're in the same team, Lars van der Haar and Thibaut Nys. So Thibaut Nys sitting up there, just cleaning out his glasses by the looks of it, because he has a teammate, I was going to say up the road there. This race is so fast that it does seem like a road race, but up the track ahead of them. It's Verstringen who's trying to close it up. Wout van Aert remounts as well. He's choosing not to jump, unlike Joris Nieuwenhuis there, who is jumping the planks. Jens Adams still not out of it there, the Lotto Exos rider. Lars van der Haar, I don't know, have I forgotten something? I think this is the best I've seen Lars van der Haar looking in weeks, Jeremy.
Yeah, he came out really, really strong at the beginning of the year. And then, a little bit of a down period, but I wouldn't say that was so bad. The other riders were also flying during that period, but Van der Haar's been in the mix, but it hasn't been as easy of a year. But there is a new generation coming in, which are taking up a lot of those, second through eighth spots. But, wow, super fast turn there. This will be one of the fastest laps of the day for sure. Van der Haar coming through with a small gap now, and let's see, will they sit up in the back? Who's going to do the pacemaking in the second group?
6 laps complete of the 8. They need to be careful here because things have slowed down a bit there. Van Toornhout won't chase. Niels van der Putte can because he hasn't got a teammate up there. But that's a definite slowing. If these two know it and they can get on with it, these two might run away with this at the moment. Two brilliant technical riders out front, very fast those two of the fastest riders through these kind of tight turns as well. Lars van der Haar and Elisabeth. It's now Niels van der Putte who gets on the front, starts to try and close down that gap. Jeremy, there is one rider in that leading group that we haven't, unless I've forgotten it, really seen drop a bomb yet, and that's the man that most people are probably expecting to, Wout van Aert. There he is in 4th place in the chasing group. Do you think he's got that big attack in him in this race? I mean, we know he has. It's a silly question, is it? But looking at the way that he's riding, his body language and his impetus in this race so far, do you think that's yet to come?
He has not hit the front of the race yet. As we see, Van der Haar is actually gapping off Iserbyt here. Just, one bike length. But it is something. Look at this, 2 bike lengths now. So Van der Haar feeling very, very good on this track. For Wout van Aert, Jez, I think that the moment for him to do something is now. Right? He knows that if he's got the power, it's going to have to come through on that climb. There's only about 14 minutes left in this race, give or take. And I think that for Van Aert, he knows that this moment's there. If he's going to show his cards, he's got to show them. If he's going to take initiative, he's got to take it. Unfortunately, it's that rider that's right behind him that I think, those 2 riders, in fact, I think Michael van Toornhout and Thibaut Nys are the 2 best riders that I've seen. Van Aert is the kind of the wild card for me, where he's got, what his power band is. He looked to be suffering on some of the sections where the other riders were not going as hard, but he is Wout van Aert, and there is definitely something to be said for that. He's the winner of this race. You know, he's won just about anything that he's put his mind to. We'll have to see if he's got the power output to shoot across in this climb, and if he does come back to the front and sew this one back up, what does he have after that? Because in my mind, it's the rider that can do the attack and come back. That's great. But who can keep the pace up? And that's what we saw in the women's race not be able to be done. And that's what we see also in this race is like once you make that selection or once you make the gap and sew it back up, can you continue on and continue to keep the pace high? That's where I'll look for the real lethal blow. Someone's going to do that, Jez. And then is it going to be Thibaut Nys? Is it going to be Michael Van Toorn? Is it going to be a different rider that comes over the top and really solidifies this one?
Let's see. I'll remind viewers, this is only the third ever edition of this race, and for all three editions, it's been a World Cup race. It's only ever been won, because there have been two editions, by either Mathieu van der Poel, who won the first one, ahead of Wout van Aert, and then last year it was Wout van Aert. So Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert, the two winners so far. Is he going for two in a row? Will he get two in a row today? Definitely got a fight on his hands, Wout van Aert. By this stage of the last round of the UCI World Cup in Dendermonde, it was looking far more certain as we were going into the closing stages, and he was riding away from everyone effectively. Now we're back on the climb again. The penultimate time we'll see the drone shot alongside Wout van Aert. He is being tracked by the danger man, as Jeremy has pointed out rightly too. Thibaut Nys with a bike length to Wout van Aert. That's starting to crack open a little bit. Certainly making Thibaut Nys work hard to stay with him. And there's the catch as well. Just like that on the climb, Wout van Aert has gone to the front of the race for the first time, the Visma bike rider. He's caught everyone, and he now leads into the woods.
Thibaut doing that climb seated, I think is worth noting, and the look on his face different than the other riders. So I do still stand by my opinion that, you know, in the twisty turnies, there's still more to come. And now we see Iserbyt launch one again over the top, and the first rider to be right there, Thibaut Nys. So now, like I said, who's going to follow it up? Who's going to have something after the big move from Wout van Aert? So all of these riders ahead, able to stay in that group. Now we've got 5 at the front. Everybody here looking super, super good. Does Nys? No. Nys chooses not to continue on.
Well, that head shake, can you decode that for us, Jay Powell? Why is he shaking his head like that then? Is he shaking it at himself, or is it at others?
It's a good question. You know, I think he's looking at the pacemaking. He knows that this race is going to be a last lap race, no doubt. And Van Aert comes over the top, puts down the big moment, maybe asks for a favor, like, hey, don't come over the top of me or something. But then he realizes that he can't chase it up or something. I have no idea what that's about. Surely we'll hear that. But now the boxing for the inside because of this penultimate moment, right? They cannot let two Paulo Salas' riders go in the front into these last turns. That's why Thibaut Nys knocked Iserbyt out of second place there in that turn.
Yep. And right in the thick of the sauce right now is Thibaut Nys. He's got sauce all round him. If anyone's wondering what we're talking about, Pal Salzman or Pal sauces are basically frites sauces, bottles of sauces that you have with your frites. They sponsor that team.
There's right now, this is the moment. Michael Van Toorn, but behind him, Eli Iserbyt, and Nys is not going to like that. He's going to try to come over the top, but right now, Iserbyt could just simply let off the pedals a little bit. And now look at this. This is exactly what happened. Michael Van Toorn 3-4 bike lines here as it's starting to go out. Iserbyt knows what he's doing. There's nowhere for them to pass. Nys is going to need to do what he has to do to try to come around here, but Michael Van Toorn isn't able to capitalize fully as it does come back together here. But that's the fear with two riders from the same team at the front, Jess.
You've got to be careful. He doesn't want to cause... None of them want to cause a crash. He'll get a terrible name for himself for doing that. But you can't help but think as you watch that Iserbyt could just lay off it a little bit more. At least make people have to come round him. There's a fine line, isn't there, between that and maybe sort of bluffing it a bit. Make it look like it's still going hard, but actually the gap is opening up.
It's a tactic that the riders that are racing against Michael Van Toorn and Eli Iserbyt know. And they need to expect it, and then they need to mitigate it. And that's what Thibaut's doing. That's what Lars van der Haar is doing. So now let's watch through the planks. Everybody clean through here. There's a lot of fatigue in the legs right now. Wout van Aert choosing to run that. Van der put a little bit crisscrossy as he goes through. We're seeing now big ride here from Joris Neuvenhuis coming back into the front. This is great to see for the rider that's been out with illness for most of the season. Coming back here wearing number 4 on his back, coming into this front group in the final lap of this World Cup. Super good to see.
Yeah, Joris Neuvenhuis, who I believe was out with shingles for a long time as well, has come back and then got ill again a little bit too. But looking back at it, there he is with the number 4 on his back in the green and white of the Ridley Racing team. It is Michael Van Toorn, who once again in this part of the course is leading this large group of 9 riders through, I think it is now. We're just seeing less and less of Josh Dubois, Clément Venturini, Laurens Sweeck. Those guys seem to be out of it right now. My suspicion, I'm sure our suspicion, is the winner will come from this leading group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because Niels van der Putter is the last one. Well, maybe Venturini, Dubois and Sweeck aren't out of it, because they're there in that second group. Van der Putter feeling the pressure at the back of this one as well. He's drifting off, and the next attack comes from Eli Iserbyt again. I don't know why, J-Pow, but I've just got this strange feeling that Eli Iserbyt and Michael van Turenhout are both going to miss out somewhere today. They've done so much, and I just think there might be riders sitting in this group who'll be on the podium. That's my prediction. And I may well be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I'd be wrong on that.
No, but really, I don't think anyone knows right now. That's why this race in its final lap right now, right, is this moment. You can see Iserbyt classic, way behind the back, trying to do everything he can to really slice this one up. The fastest lap I've seen so far has just barely broke the 7-minute mark. It was Wout van Aert at 6:59. Everybody else really had a 7:01, 7 minutes on the dot. Van Aert has done 2:6:59, so just a touch faster. We'll have to see where Wout van Aert feels in his bandwidth. Can he come around? Can he get to the front? But can he start from far enough forward at this point where he is right now in 5th, Jez, to be able to get close to the front, to be able to hit those stairs, to then be able to launch an attack from the front, to be able to do something? We know that the short, fast finish is when you go into that final stretch, you want to be on the front. If you're in second place, it's hard to come around. It's very, very short. So the rider that wins wants to lead from the front, but they have to go the last possible place to be able to pass is in those planks. We saw it in the women's race, no spoilers, but we know that the last possible moment to pass is in those planks. With Wout van Aert running it, with Thibaut Nys jumping them, Wout van Aert's going to need to do damage on the climb if he wants to try to be able to take this one.
They are the words of Jeremy Powers alongside me, Jez Cox. This is the final lap of the elite men's race. This round 9 of 11 of the UCI Cyclo-Cross World Cup here on Eurosport Discovery Plus and streaming on Max. Wherever you are watching this around the world, thank you for being with us. It's in the glorious Spanish sunshine of Benidorm. It's a brilliant track. We had an incredible elite women's race that if you didn't see it live, you must go back and watch again because it was cracking. So far, actually, even more exciting than this, dare I say it, because it was a really, really tight race in that one. This has been a little bit more cautious in places. We've had lots of attacking, but we've also had bigger numbers involved at the front end too, and still some possibly with cards in their back pocket yet to play. Eli Iserbyt and Michael van Turenhout have done loads. Thibaut Nys has looked great, but I reckon he's got quite a bit of powder dry in there. Joris Nieuwenhuis moving up again. Laurens Sweeck is definitely not out of it. I'd say he's now in this leading group, just on the back wheel of Niels van der Putter. There he is coming around the corner. They're all going through the pits. No one goes in at all. Very little pit action today. But watch out for Wout van Aert, who's now moving up. He knows he needs to close up the gap to the back of Thibaut Nys. He does not want Nys and Iserbyt to run away with this up the steps. And Wout van Aert now up into 3rd.
Nys is not going to wait on this climb. My estimation is that he's going to open this one up here. He's going to do what he needs to do here to be able to put this one away. Nys is, I think, in my opinion, the strongest on the day. Van Aert now knows he's got to close this up, but he's coming from so far back. Like I said, it's going to be a lot. Wow, look at the front. Iserbyt all out here now. Thibaut Nys goes right over the top of him, Jez.
Understandably, our camera is staying with Wout van Aert, but you're right, the action over the top. It is Thibaut Nys who goes over the top. We saw him do this on a finish at the Tour of Romandy this year on the road. We know how much power he punches on a climb like that. Thibaut Nys going clear. Can Van Turenhout and Eli Iserbyt get back in touch? Wout van Aert's still there, and this race is really open at the front end. This is the final lap now, lap 8, and Thibaut Nys had been keeping his powder dry, but he's just puffed it up in the air because he's off. And Van Aert is being forced to chase now. Two of the big guns being forced to come out on this final lap. Can he close it up?
Nah, the head is shaking. I think Nys is so good technically through these fast sections. I knew if he led from the front of that section that he was going to have the advantage. Now he's almost tucked, doing a super tuck, trying to come down this one. He's got to wait. He's got a speed limit here. Van Aert may be able to come back, but the effort may be too big for the former world champ to be able to come through. Iserbyt now takes over the pacemaking. He realizes the moment. This is a super dangerous moment. Thibaut Nys put this one away, put the fork in it on that. Now his mouth finally open. He's got to just continue. He's only got a handful of sections, Jez, that he's got to be able to go through, maintain the front, but this is looking super good for Thibaut Nys right now.
Yeah, we'll come in the interviews, I'm sure, afterwards we'll hear from Wout van Aert. I'm just wondering whether we might be hearing about how much road training he's been doing in the week or so leading up to this. and how that preparation for the classics might be affecting his freshness, because he hasn't looked fresh in this race to me today. He's looked strong, but he's not looked quite as snappy and fresh as some of the pure crossers around him, like Elizabeth, for whom the classic season doesn't matter at all. It's all about the here and now. There he is, though, still with a very, very good chance of being minimum on the podium by the looks of it. But he goes again, Thibaut Nys, the European champion, the freshly crowned Belgian champion, is looking very good at the front. But Elizabeth's looking good too. Michael van Turenhout slightly on the back foot here as we get to the top of the forest before the long swooping descent down too. This is the drone shot just in behind Thibaut Nys, who's put everything into that road attack. It's a shame, really, that we did track alongside Wout van Aert, because it was the megawatts being laid down by this guy, son of one of the greatest male cyclocross riders of all time, who is now carving out his own history. I'm pleased to say we don't have to keep talking about his dad, because he's making history of his own here.
A warning shot for the World Championships too. I think for Nys, this is a real big moment. Just took the European title earlier this year, then took the Belgian title just last weekend. Now is in the European Champs jersey here in Benidorm. About 10, 12 days out from the World Championships, 2 weeks out from the World Championships, thinking about the rainbow stripes as he comes through, basically just nailing those planks without any question. He's definitely going to come into the finishing circuit on such a fast track, very dominantly, given the type of course that we're on today, Jez. This is an absolutely perfect ride from Thibaut Nys, laid down maturely and with a lot of thought. He held back in sections when he could have gone all out. He waited for the right moment. In the last lap, in a final duel, Van Aert was just shuffled out. He knew the moment. He laid down the big attack, comes over the top, and is going to walk into the finish with a handful of seconds ahead of him. Absolute perfection here from Thibaut Nys here in Benidorm.
Kicks out the back wheel there. It's not an enormous lead over Elizabeth, but there are very few places to make up time now as we go into these swoopy corners. He takes the left-hander too. He's done it. European champion, Belgian champion, and rounding in on those world championships. Big warning shot fired, because Thibaut Nys is the winner in Benidorm in round 9 of the UCI Cyclo-Cross World Cup. What a final lap from him. Elizabeth takes second, Lars van der Haar after a brilliant ride in third, Wout van Aert in fourth, Michael van Turenhout fifth, and Felipe Ur is the local hero in sixth. Niels van der Putte stops his watch in, I think, seventh, and Joris Nieuwenhuis in eighth, back from illness. Josh Thibaut with a very fine ride inside the top 10. He is 10th, just behind Emil Verstringer in 9th. Jens Adams just outside the top 10 in 11th. Sorry, 12th he'll be, behind Clement Venturini. What a final lap. Jeremy, what a cracking race in the end.
Yeah, it was a great race. Nys, I have to ask myself what else, what more could he have done with a longer climb or more? He's just so explosive. You know, I think that Nys is really coming into his own with confidence, but also knowing where he can really do it with the double jab, with the uppercut here for the finish too. We're watching a man in his moment.
Lawrence Swake just out sprinting. Cam Mason there just coming in behind Pim Ronhaar, so he rode his way back in. Cam Mason to finish somewhere, I think just around about inside that top 20. That's a good comeback from that point. As you say, Thibaut Nys with the double punch on the line and the finger in the air. With 2 weeks to go to those World Championships on the Liévin course in France. I can't imagine it'll be quite as dry and fast as this. Nothing like a lick to the face as well. Popular rider, isn't he? Particularly with
Huge ride for Thibaut. This is going to put him in another stratosphere mentally. You start to question what's possible at this moment. You know what I mean? With the only rider that's not really here being Van der Poel, that's super strong favorite for the world champs. It's a very different course, a very fast course. You know, the World Championships will be way different conditions, but he's been good all year and he's won in a variety of ways. He's going to be riding on a very high cloud.
Yeah, we're just seeing there Mario Junqueras and Milan coming across the line. Bronze medalist at the Spanish Championships behind Felipe Urs last weekend, of course. taking a few high fives from the crowd. And a very clean-looking pits. How lovely does that pit? Normally I look at the shots of the pits, J-Power, and I think, oh gosh, I'm glad I'm not in there. There's like jet washes going off in every direction. There's mud and cold, miserable-looking people everywhere. Anyway, someone who's not looking miserable. Wout van Aert.
Wout van Aert, your thoughts about this brutal race?
Yeah, that's exactly how it felt. It didn't feel really fresh, and took really long for me to get to the front group. Had a bad start, and there I felt that already it wasn't my day. So in the final laps I had to gamble for one good acceleration, but yeah, Thibaut was stronger in the final lap.
Was it your plan to accelerate exactly at that place where Thibaut did his move?
No, I felt like I had to save, but the second last lap I had to close a gap to Iserbyt and Van der Aar already, and from then on. Yeah, I didn't have a clear plan anymore. I was just trying to follow, but I started too far behind me, Thibaut, and then yeah, I saw him going away. It was exceptionally strong.
Wout van Aert, het verhaal van jouw wedstrijd. Uiteindelijk wordt het een vierde plaats. Een stevige race was het, hè?
Ja, het was een supersnelle koers en ik voelde me niet echt helemaal geweldig. Dus ik zat vanaf het begin redelijk op de limiet. En het duurde ook veel te lang voor ik kon aansluiten vooraan. Dat is nooit een goed teken. Als je een goede been hebt, dan doe je in de eerste 2 ronden direct niet voor. Maar ik moest er nog wat inkomen en ja, ik ben eigenlijk nooit die koers geraakt.
Hoe komt het, denk je, dat je je niet zo denderend voelde dan?
Ja, ik heb zwaar getraind, maar ja, ik kom hier naar hier en iedereen kiest naar je voorbereiding. Dus dat wil ik ook niet als een excuus niet roepen. Het is gewoon, ja, de ene dag is anders dan de andere dag. En ja, ik was zeker niet slecht, want ik ben wel van ver teruggekomen, maar ik had niet de benen om het verschil te maken.
Die hellende asfaltstrook, dat was de plaats waar het kon gebeuren, waar het moest gebeuren misschien wel. Onder de indruk van wat Thibaut Nys daar doet?
Ja, toch wel. Vanaf dat ik min of meer vooraan kwam, zag ik ook wel dat Thibaut degene was die ik in de gaten moest houden. En hoe hij de laatste ronde versnelde, ja, chapeau.
Nog één weekend?
Ja, inderdaad. Ik vermoed terug een beetje frisser, maar ja, het was een mooie trip naar Spanje. En ik hoop in Maasmechelen met een beter gevoel het crossseizoen af te sluiten.
Goeie terugkeer, dank je.
Jeremy, did you pick anything up in there? I heard some mention of Maasmechelen next weekend.
Yeah, a lot of things that we had already sort of said. You know, first of all, very, very snel, very, very fast, and you ended up 4th race in a tough one. And he said, yeah, it was super fast. I didn't feel great, which he also said in the English portion. He was on his limit from the start. He also said during there, basically he said it took me too long to join the front group, which is never a good sign. And when you have the legs, you make that connection in the first 2 laps. But I had to work my way into it, and he never really got into the rhythm of the race. The guy asked, what do you feel?
As expected,
we'll come back to
another
this.
highlight of your season, this race, but a brutal race.
Yeah, today I had fast race, every race. I taking good position in the group. And finally, 6th place, I think is good for me. I stay in the battle for the podium and I'm happy with my race.
What did you think when Thibaut Nys accelerated?
I know Thibaut is good rider for this track. He's always is fast in the last laps. And finally, I'm happy for him for take a win.
You know him very well, Thibaut?
Yeah, we live a lot of years closet and I have a lot of friends in common, but I prefer win, but I'm happy also for him to win.
And now, also back to Belgium for you?
Yeah, next weekend I come back in the really winter in Belgium for the 2 last World Cups, but I'm happy now with my season, but I continue in same line for the last World Cups and the Worlds.
Thank you very much for that.
I think everybody very, very impressed by Thibaut Nys. Just coming back to the Wout van Aert interview, you know, he knew that attack was going to come. He just said, you know, he knew from the beginning that he wasn't able to make the selection. That's always going to be bad. You know, he's had a great trip here in Spain, but he's going to wrap up in Maasmechelen coming up here, so he's got another one to go.
Josh Thibaut with the best French finish in the end in 10th, just behind Emil de Stringer, Joris Nieuwenhuis, Niels van der Putte, who we barely mentioned but still took 7th place. Orts we've just heard from in 6th, Michael van Turenhout in 5th as well, behind Thibaut Nys, the winner, Henrik Iserbyt and Lars van der Haar Here's the standings after round 9 of the UCI Cyclo-Cross World Cup. All 6 of the top places taken by Belgian riders. Michael van Turenhout still on top with that lead over Toon Aerts. Eli Iserbyt, Jeroen Weeshuren, the best of the youngsters up there in the top 4 as well. Next 2 rounds, or the final 2 rounds of the UCI Cyclo-Cross World Cup, as mentioned there by Felipe Orts, come next weekend. We're bringing you both of them here at the Home of Cycling, of course, on Eurosport Discovery Plus and on Max. They are Maasmechelen on Saturday and Hoogerheide on Sunday. J-Pal, if I could teleport you back to being at your very, very best as a professional cyclocross rider, which one of them would you like to do next weekend, Maasmechelen or Hoogerheide? Which one? You can only do one.
Hoogerheide. Such great memories there. Great race, iconic course. Many a world champion been crowned there. Yeah, lots of history. So for sure, Hoogerheide.
Well, I've got good news for you. I can just hear in my ear from the organiser. You're in. You're going to be on the 5th row of the grid, and we'll see you next weekend, mate.
I better start training then. I better start kicking off my cross training
for this year. I know you'd be fine. You'd be absolutely fine. Just to confirm, folks at home, that's not actually true. It's not. I haven't got the organiser in my ear. I don't have any kind of powers like that. Although I wish I did. That would be cracking, wouldn't it? There we go. Anyway, it won't be me commentating next weekend. And certainly not as the lead. I think Marty's going to be back on. He's just finished covering Women's Tour Down Under. I'll be in the thick of the final weekend of the Men's Tour Down Under. Let's hear from Eli Iserbyt.
Podium in the World Cup. How do you feel about this race?
Yeah, I felt pretty good. In the beginning, I kept the pace high for Michael, that he was or could be in a very good position, because today was really important for his classification. And I think I was a bit better than expected before the race. So it's a bit pity I am second. But the last climb, Thibaut was just a bit stronger.
Was it also thanks to some days in the sun, some training here in Spain, that you felt better today?
Yeah, I think so. I had really a week of not too much training, recovery, and get the body a bit healed up from the last races. I did a lot of exercises also for my core stability, and I think that worked out really good, and I felt really powerful today.
Quite some acceleration by Thibaut on that steep hill.
Yeah, you definitely knew before that it's there that the race would be decided. But I saw Wout passing me, and I thought, now I go in front of him for the descent and the barriers. And I think that was a good tactic to become second.
Eli Iserbyt, had je deze tweede plaats verwacht?
Well, niet echt. Ik weet wel dat het parcours is voor mij, maar het was gewoon zaak voor mij om deze week goed te herstellen. Ik heb eigenlijk niet super veel getraind. De zon doet goed om het lichaam echt 100% te herstellen. Ik heb vooral veel core stability gedaan om mijn zwakke plek van mijn been te versterken. En dat is heel goed gelukt deze week. Dus ik voel mij van in het begin heel goed. We reden eigenlijk een klein beetje, ik reed tempo in het begin om Michael op een goede positie te houden voor zijn klassement. Want je weet als het ene keer stilvalt op die weg dat 1 Wout in de wedstrijd komt en 2 dat je misschien zelf heel veel plekken verliest. Dus ik denk wel dat door Michael en mezelf is dat Wout niet echt in de wedstrijd gekomen is buiten de laatste ronde. En de rest heeft daar misschien een klein beetje van kunnen profiteren, maar dat was onze tactiek. En het is nu tweede, dus ik denk dat dat wel het hoogst haalbare was.
Probeerde je ook te anticiperen op de move van Nijs of eventueel Van Aert die nog zou komen in die slotronde? Ja,
ik wist dat ik zeker niet de beste was op die klim. Ik had een klein haatje denk ik, maar dan zie je dat Thibaut wel nog die 100, 200 wat extra kan duwen. Ik denk dat Wout net niet sterk genoeg was vandaag om een even goede klim te rijden. Want anders was het nog heel spannend voor het einde.
Dankjewel Eli.
Well, definitely a big one for Eli Iserbyt there, trying to look out for Michael van Turenhout a little bit and do what he could to help protect his overall, which makes it makes sense. But he said he really didn't expect the second place, Jez, which I thought was really interesting. He said he didn't do a lot, he didn't train a lot, and he was really focused on his core work because we know he's had this sciatica issue in his back. So
Lars van der Aert, did you expect this one?
No, not at all. I've never really done so well here. But I did already feel really good in the Christmas period, but it never really came out. So I came out of the Christmas period better than last year, and maybe that's the difference.
It's a very particular track here in Benidorm, and it really suits Thibaut Nys also.
Yeah, and I knew the last laps that we had to go for Thibaut because I knew I couldn't beat Ailey in the last lap because of the barriers. So yeah, I really focused on Thibaut in the last lap and that worked out well.
Lars van der Haar, jij lijkt heel tevreden met die podiumplaats.
Ja, zeker op dit parcours had ik niet verwacht om zo'n snelle omloop podium te kunnen rijden.
Beschrijf eens het gevoel in die laatste ronde. Wat gebeurt er dan allemaal rondom jou?
Nou ja, ik was natuurlijk weggereden, al weet ik niet hoe dat gebeurd was. Maar ik had al wel heel snel door dat ik niet door moest trekken met Ailey, want die zou ik nooit verslaan in de laatste ronde vanwege de balken. Dus ja, toen was het eigenlijk kijken wat Thibaut ging doen en daarop anticiperen. En ik was heel blij dat ik er zelf nog een podium uit kon trekken.
Had je nog iets van Aert verwacht in die fase?
Ja, maar dat heeft hij ook wel gedaan. Maar ja, hij moest net te laat komen, hij kon net niet eerder komen. En waardoor wij hem ietsjes vast konden zetten. En heeft hij eigenlijk de hele fietspad vol moeten rijden. En ja, daarop konden wij hem weer kloppen richting de finish.
Dankjewel, Lars.
I think the big thing that I took away from Eli Easterbit's interview too was talking a lot about trying to have Michael not lose so many places himself, Jess, because I think in the case of with so many top riders, right, there's a chance that Wout would come into this race, and really do a lot of damage, and it could kind of blow things up. But really didn't get into the race, so the others benefited from that a little bit, and so he was really trying to do as minimal damage, looking out for Eli. But here we hear from
congratulations on another great win in this season. It keeps on coming.
Yeah, finally everything is slowly falling together in the right pieces, and it was wonderful. The right legs in the right moment.
Everything went according to plan?
I think so, yeah. I think Wout missed his start completely because he had to start on a quite far place, and the pace never really dropped completely in the front group, so that made it really hard for him to come back, and I think we profit from that in the final.
You only didn't win this cyclocross season, but also the previous road season. Is it the experience from those wins that you took today?
Well, I don't know. Everyone knows you need to go the last climb of full gas, so it's quite like the effort that suits me really good. And when I'm in the right place, on a course like this, yeah, I can finish it off.
Zie, nog even. Thibaut Nys, gefeliciteerd. Het is opnieuw een spraakmakende overwinning, mogen we toch zeggen. Hè?
Ja, het was heel leuk. Dat is wel... Het begint een klassieker te worden, Benidorm. Het is nog maar 3 jaar wedstrijd, denk ik, maar toch... het heeft wel iets. Het wil niet zeggen dat ik 100% fan ben van het parcours, maar ik ben wel 100% fan van deze wedstrijd, op deze plaats, op deze datum. Dat is gewoon een blijver. En als je die kunt winnen, dat is mooi.
En het plan, dat lukte perfect. Had je dit voor ogen?
Goh, een beetje wel. Ik weet wel dat dit een soort inspanning is en een soort wedstrijd dat ik fysiek heel goed aan kan. Het is een beetje de combinatie tussen het EK en Beringen, zo dat type wedstrijd. En dat ligt me wel. Maar als Wout in koers zit, wordt er toch altijd naar hem ook gekeken. En is iedereen op zijn hoede van hij gaat nog komen, hij gaat nog komen. Maar op een gegeven moment moet je dan ook wel je eigen wedstrijd beginnen rijden. En als we in de laatste materiaalpost een klein gaatje hadden, was het voor mij zo mentaal de klik van oké, nu moet ik wel doorgaan. Want ga ik rekening met hem blijven houden.
En dan doe je het op die asfalthelling waar het verondersteld wordt te gebeuren. Maar je moet het nog doen natuurlijk.
Ja, ik wou Eli een klein gaatje geven, zodat hij sowieso al de aanval eigenlijk in gang zette. En dan ga ik op het moment dat ik moet gaan, denk ik. En kan ik het doortrekken tot op het einde.
Nog één ding, waar plaats je deze winst in dit seizoen?
Hoog. Natuurlijk, als je al 2 kampioenschappen gewonnen hebt, is dat moeilijk. Maar nee, het is gewoon een hele mooie overwinning dat ik kan onthouden.
Dankjewel.
Well, lots to be said, Jez. The World Championships came up at the end there, and that's...
Well, those of you who are still with us, do stay with us as well, because Jeremy and I were going to bring you the podium presentations, maybe a couple more interviews as well, and we'll look at probably some highlights of the race as well, looking back as things happen. Of course, these are shots from just after the finish. Momentum very much with Thibaut Nace, and that M word, something that we mention so often as well in Cyclo-Cross, with 2 weeks to go to the Worlds. This is when you want momentum, I suspect. The podium presentation just, I think, about to happen by the looks of it. We've been looking back at some delayed shots. I think this might be live right now. Having said that, they're walking away from the podium, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Jay Powell, we'll have a little guess as to where they're going.
Yeah, I'm happy to read you a little bit of that interview too, if you like, Jez. But
please do.
Yeah, well, the commentator in Flemish asked it was another remarkable victory, and he said, yeah, it was really fun. Benidorm's becoming a classic, a race that has only been around for 3 years, I think, but it's really something special. And it doesn't mean that I love the course 100%, but I'm definitely a fan of this race at this location on this date. It's here to stay, and it's just great. The commentator asked, your plan worked out perfectly. Was it how you envisioned it? And he was saying that it was a combination of the European Championship and Bergen, where he took the Belgian title, races that suit me very well. He also said that Wout was in the race, and all eyes were on him. Everybody was cautious, expecting that he'd make a move at some point, but that he rode his own race. And he said when he had a small gap in the final pit zone, it clicked for him mentally. He said, now I have to push through, or I'll have to keep reacting to him. And then you did what he did on the asphalt climb, which is where it was supposed to happen. But of course, you still have to pull it off. Eli left a small gap after he initiated the attack, and that's when he went all in, and he managed to keep that until the final lap. He said, one last thing, where does this win rank in your season? He said, high, of course. Winning 2 championships, though, makes it difficult to compare. This is a very special victory, though, that I will cherish.
He, of course, has a teammate on the podium with him too. 2 of the Balois glowy lions, so double reason, really, for Sven Nace, his dad, to be delighted with 2 riders from his team. But he is a bit notably there, talking about the core work he'd been doing over the last couple of weeks. And interestingly enough as well, Jeremy, talking about the fact that he'd been able to take some rest over the last week or so. Something that the likes of, I suspect, Wout van Aert won't have been able to do, because he'll have been training, thinking about Kent Peverlin, he'll have been thinking about Ronde van Vlaanderen, all those things. And Elisabeth is probably thinking about getting towards the end of the cross season and then taking a break and resting, maybe even hitting the beach. It's a completely different focus for the full-time crossers, isn't it?
I'd love to hit the beach. This rider's riding on cloud 9. I mean, look, I think it's great to see Iserbyt back at his best, and of course that suits him. It's also great to see someone like Van der Haar, really, racing against totally different generations up here. He's got a teammate on the podium. I know that Van der Haar and Thibaut Nace have a great relationship. So, yeah, this is cool to see. We see Big Miguel Indurain here giving the winners flowers. So, just a lot of pride here in Spain for their heritage of bike racers, and it's cool. It's super cool to see. I think there's a lot of energy here down in the southern part of Spain. It's a very unique race, and a lot of praise from the riders. So, very, very cool to see all this happen.
Yeah, fantastic to see 5-time Tour de France champion Miguel Indurain there too, as you point out. I think a cross course that might have even suited him with that long climb in it too. Well, there's definitely enough Belgian fans and team workers and what have you there to be able to sing that national anthem loud and clear. Maybe some of the riders too, because they're all there. There's your podium. Thibaut Nace, the winner of the Benidorm World Cup, ahead of Elisabeth and Lars van der Haar.